oversight over the public service, and in this province in particular over the KwaZulu-Natal administration. We are accountable to the National Assembly, and we report directly also to our provincial legislatures, and we see ourselves as an extension of the arm of the legislature and execute our work in that manner. We are also required to provide advice to departments, to make recommendations to themselves, EAs, HODs, SMS members and officials, and to propose measures and issue directions. Moving on to the next slide. We are vested with custodial oversight responsibilities in the Constitution. As I said, we have the power to, amongst other things, monitor, evaluate, and investigate our public administration and the personnel practices as well. We have the power to, amongst others, issue directions regarding compliance with personnel procedures relating to recruitment, transfers, promotions, and dismissals. We also must execute our mandate without fear, without favor, and without prejudice. And that's important in maintaining an effective and efficient administration and a high standard of professional ethics in the public service. We also link our independence to impartiality, where no organ of the state may interfere with the functioning of the PSC or interfere with any of our investigations. And we're further empowered in terms of the Public Service Commission Act to conduct inspections and inquiries, which we do regularly. I thought I should just outline a little bit, like the SIU did as well, on our KZN stakeholder consultation and collaboration, and at what levels we operate as the Public Service Commission. Well, obviously, we have to regularly have meetings with the presidency. Our national ministers are given cluster departments allocated to them, and they then liaise regularly quarterly basis or sometimes more regularly with national ministers and take up issues that we have encountered directly with them. We do so as resident commissioners in the provinces with premiers, with executive councils, with provincial departments. I think it was towards the end of August, we went and made a presentation as the Public Service Commission on the Public Service Commission Bill to Executive Council. And we have been having dashboard meetings with almost every MEC within Executive Council, presenting the dashboards to them, presenting directions, giving recommendations on where we can improve, also giving commendations where things are working well. We also liaise with the National Assembly, provincial legislatures, as I said, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, and all relevant portfolio committees. We table our reports before the Speaker, and when we're invited to speak to our reports, we do present ourselves as we are invited today, and we will present our report. We're also engaged with FOSAD and the National Planning Commission, the National School of Government, our close partners, and of academic institutions. At the national level, Professor Figene has signed MOUs with many academic institutions to collaborate on issues of strengthening integrity and governance. And then we also work very closely with the forums for institutions supporting democracy, both at a national level and provincial level. In fact, it is the PSC KZN that revived the FISD for KZN, where it had collapsed. Where they were no longer meeting as the institution supporting democracy. We have revived it. The Commission for Gender Equality is now chairing the forum, and we are making sure that we do meet quarterly, and we discuss and collaborate, and we will be putting together an MOU as well. So it's very important for the Auditor General, the Human Rights Commission, the CGE, IEC, the SIU, the PP, and ourselves work together in the province, and that we don't duplicate efforts towards investigating certain matters, etc. And then when there is a disaster or something that needs to be addressed, we go and address it collectively. So that is what we are doing as we revive the FISD in KZN. And then, of course, we work with outside stakeholders, which is UNODC, UNDP, the European Union, World Bank. But I think we must note also, Chairperson and Honourable Members, that the Public Service Commission is now chairing the Public Service Commission of Africa currently. So that's under the leadership of Professor Figene. So, and we are obviously running the Secretariat as well. So there is this this platform that has been created where all public service commissions across Africa come together. And this year it has been, the chairmanship was given to the Public Service Commission of South Africa. And we are indeed quite pleased to take this responsibility on. Chairperson, to the more direct business of the day today, the overview of financial disclosures in the KZN province. Next two slides, please. I'm on slide 10. Thank you. Thank you. We have good news, as we have had for the last 2 years. The financial disclosures arise from a specific set of regulations, which is the Public Service Regulations 2016. And it is an instrument that is designed to manage the declaration of financial interest by members of the Senior Management Service and other officials designated by the Minister for Public Service and Administration from time to time. It is a mechanism where our public servants must annually disclose information about their income, their assets, their liabilities, their business interests, land and buildings, etc. And they must disclose it to the accounting officers by not later than 30th April each year. And this is all legislation. And then, of course, then the executive authorities, in return, must submit all these copies of the declarations to the Public Service Commission a month later, that is by the 31st of May each year. And so we work on these compliance dates. We do assess compliance with public service regulations, that's our job, and we establish whether there is involvement of officials in any activities of companies that do business with government and which could lead to potential conflicts of interest. How do we do this? We verify using relevant databases such as a CIPC, where we check whether they are registered as directors of various companies. We have direct link to the systems. E-Natus, we check their vehicles, whether they've declared all the vehicles that they own. We'll check with the deeds office in terms of the land and buildings that they own, and that's just to name a few. And obviously DPSA gives us access to it. It's called the e-disclosure system, and it's digitalized and it's working quite well. And we really appreciate the DPSA for digitalizing that system. And so where it all culminates at the end is the drafting of reports by the Public Service Commission, where we report to the respective executive authorities and HODs of the departments. We advise them on the outcomes. We make recommendations on appropriate actions to be taken if we elicit any conflicts of interest. And we also then monitor that whatever recommendations we have given in writing to the EAs and HODs are actually being implemented. Honorable Chairperson, to get into the real details of everything, I will now hand over to our Head of Professional Ethics, Mrs. Yoliswa Mshali, to take you through the balance of the presentation. Yoliswa.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So I just I'm sorry about that glitch. Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. We are now on slide 11. The KZN province, we had 604 SMS members that all submitted their financial disclosures by 31 May to Public Service Commission. And as the Commissioner alluded, the province has yet obtained another 100% compliance rate for the 24-25 financial year. For the third year now, 3 years in a row. This achievement was made not easy, but we worked tirelessly with the EAs, accounting officers, the ethics officers, as well as the DPSA to achieve for the province to achieve 100%. The PSC, all this disclosed information are communicated to the findings and recommendations are communicated to the EAs. And this year, for this financial year, 2024-2025, The letters and reports were sent to the EAs by 14 July 2025, and we've received, up to this date, out of 13 departments, we've received 12 responses from EAs on actions taken. So as we verified the reports, we had a finding of only 4 departments that had findings, and it was, I think it was Department of, it was OTP and yes, I'll come back to later to that. Out of 13 departments, we have received 12 responses from the EAs as well as on consultations, with the exception of 1 department, which is Department of Education, and it's for the past 3 years now they have not responded. Reminders were sent to the EA's office through the HOM's office as well as through the Ethics Officer's office. The next slide, number 12. Cabo? Yes, slide number 12. This is the details of, it's not projecting. It's not projecting. The projection is still on. Hello? Sorry about that glitch. Okay, thank you. Okay, slide number 12. This is the indication of how departments disclosed for 24-25 and how many SMS members per department. And it shows that we had a total number of 604 departments as a province, and we in green on the far right, 100% for each department. The next slide, that is slide number 13. Okay. The next slide will be informing the members and the chairperson the disclosures by HODs of per department of all departments. It shows all HODs of departments submitted via e-disclosures in April on time before 30 April, and their forms were all submitted to PSC by 31 May 2025. Hence, we obtained a 100% compliance rate. We've just mentioned all the names of HODs per department. The next slide. Okay, the next slide will be disclosures of directorships. The companies that each SMS members have disclosed. Those are verified through CIPC. During the 24-25 financial year, only 106 SMS members were found to have companies registered in their names. Only 7 of them out of 106 did not disclose their companies, which was like 7%. These SMS members were appointed as directors of companies. Some of them were members, but there were no repeat offenders. Out of the 7 SMS members, 3 were from the Department of Education, 2 were from COCTA, and 1 was from OTP, and 1 was from Agriculture. And yes. Okay, then there was the PSC highlighted a red flag on 1 SMS member, specifically from Department of Education, who disclosed that his company makes more than around 2.8 million. In the previous year, the same SMS member, he disclosed that he makes around 4.8 million. This was a red flag, indicated as a red flag, by the PSC, and the report was sent to the EA for both financial years. But we since has not received any response from the EA whether this SMS was ever consulted or did he ever get an approval to make such a huge amount. The next slide, please. Let's move on. Slide 15. Kabo. Huh? Oh, okay. Okay. Slide 15 is the extent of directorship in companies. As I alluded before, it's out of, we have 106 SMS members that had companies, and only 7 did not disclose. It's highlighted in red. It's education, it's 2 from agriculture, 1 from OTP. Okay, let's move. The next slide will be the remuneration outside public service. In this slide, we reported that. Move on, Kabo. Slide 16. This thing doesn't move. Oh. Okay.
A bit of a drag.
Oh, so I continue talking? Oh, okay. Okay, the PSC received 20, according to their disclosures, the PSC received 26 SMS members who have disclosed that they are doing remunerative work outside public service. Out of 26, only 22 provided the proof of approval of RWAPs from their EAs, and only 4 did not provide their approval. The total amount disclosed by these SMS members for 24-25 financial year was 1,284,869.21, which was a bit lower than the previous financial year of 2023-2024, which it was 2,588,858. Of the 4 SMS members who did not submit their approvals, 2 were from Department of Education, 1 was 2 were from the Office of the Premier. The Office of the Premier has responded, gave a response that and clarified that both officials had forgotten to upload their approval certificates for RWAPs. And the OTP, the Premier also, we will continue monitor the disclosures, and they conduct workshops on RWAPs on annual basis. The next slide is just the detail of the actual monies as to which department, how many SMS members. It shows that Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environment, it was 3 SMS members for an amount of, for this financial year, 103,000, and the previous year, which is 23-24, 140. And the total is indicated at the bottom.
Nana.
Okay, we can move on. The next slide, number 18, is the disclosure of gifts and sponsorships by the SMS members for 2024 and 2023 as a comparison. We have only 6 SMS members in 2024-2025 who disclosed that they have received gifts and sponsorship. That was from Department of Finance, Department of Health, Human Settlements 1, and OTP 1, Social Development 1. The highest was from the Department of Social Development, which was, it's not actually a gift, it was the sponsorship to study. And the one from Finance disclosed 180,000, and it was not also a gift. It was she receives monies from the late husband's estate. She's always disclosing this every year, and the EA is aware of that, and the HOD. The total amount for 24-25 was 504,000, which was a bit lower than the previous year, which was 676,000. Okay, the next slide. Okay, the next slide is the same one. Yes, the next slide is just a narrating the previous table. Okay, the next slide. Non-disclosure of vehicles. As we check, as the Public Service Commission verifies this via e-notice, that shows all SMS, all 604 SMS members submitted, disclosed their vehicles. So there was no issue with the disclosure of vehicles. The next one is a comparison of the 5 years for the province from 2020, 2021 up until 2024, 2025, how the province has worked out. 2020, 2021, we had 612 SMS members, and only one did not submit, and the province acquired 98.8%. 2021, 2022, we had 607 SMS members, only 2 did not submit, and that the province acquired 99.6%. The next 3 years, the province obtained 100%. All SMS members disclosed. 2022, 2023, we had 609. 2024, we had 623. And this financial year, we had 604. Honorable members, let me just explain this. The disclosures, we do not disclose the current financial year. We disclose the previous year. As you can see, we're talking about 2024, 2025. Okay, let's move on. The status, the slide number 24 shows the status of 5 years for each department, how they worked. For all departments, during 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, up to this financial year, the first column, 2020, 2021, as you can see at the bottom, the province had 99.8%. That was because of the Department of Economic Development. The HOD's form was submitted after 31 May. It was submitted by 11 August. So they did not have 100%. The next year, the Department of Education, 1 SMS member did not disclose at all. And from Human Settlements, 1 SMS member, it was an ethics officer. His form was submitted to PSC after 31 May. The 3 financial years, all departments submitted 100%. Hence, we obtained 100% compliance rate. The next slide, slide 23. This is now for 2024-2025 recommendations that PSC recommendations that were sent to EAs to consult and give feedback to the Public Service Commission. As alluded, the letters and reports were sent to the EAs by 14 July 2025, and they were given 30 days period to respond. Out of 13 departments, only 4 departments had findings, and the office received positive responses from all EAs and on actions taken, as well as acknowledgements of reports from 12 departments, with the exception of Department of Education, which had 3 findings. The office has sent reminders to the EA's office through the HOM's office as well as the ethics officer, but up to today there was no response received from the EA's office. The next slide, slide number 24, will be now monitoring. We also monitor the financial misconduct cases for the province. The all provincial departments reported a total number of 74 disciplinary cases relating to financial misconduct for 2024-2025. And the common among financial misconduct was the gross negligence, and other cases were fraud, theft, misappropriation, and abuse of state resources. And the total amount involved for this financial year was it's quite huge, 556 million. All departments did not recover any monies so far. The PSC has noted that the irregular expenditure which was incurred, there was no consequence management action taken by the departments against all the cases involved, as required by the PFMA. The next slide will be slide number 25, which reports about the disciplinary management and precautionary suspensions in the province. During the August 2024, the Public Service Commission brought to the attention of the Honorable Premier, it concerns about the number of prolonged period on suspensions. On 30 September 2025, the Office of the Premier reported that the province has 77 public servants who are on suspension for an amount of 43,279,905. It's quite a huge number. The PSC also advocates the precautionary suspensions must be utilized as a last resort. Departments are encouraged to always explore other alternative measures, like transferring the officials within departments. I will now hand over to the Commissioner to talk about the challenges and the organization. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mrs. Mshali. Honourable Chairperson, honourable members, some of the outline of challenges and recommendations we'll make is we often speak to departments and we say if there's a change in leadership, that is your HOD or your executing authority, please notify Department of Public Services and Administration, because we're dealing with a digital system. And if you have the name of a former HOD or the former EA, you will not be able to approve within the digital system. So some of the things that we unpacked with departments and DPSA to say, let's guide the departments on how they can get past this so they can update their details immediately. A new HOD or a new EA is appointed. They have it on the e-disclosure system, and that just allows them to comply, instead of scrambling around closer to the, the deadlines, etc., because we wanted to give them some proactive advice. We also said the PSC, we write letters to all EAs. We request them to advise the ethics officers in departments to take leadership when they are submitting FDFs, and also to correct the details, etc., where there's a change in leadership, as I said. And I must say, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Members, we have very good ethics officers who work very closely with Mrs. Mshali. There is a provincial ethics officers forum that has been established now in the province, and if we have issues, we're able to take it there. We are part of those meetings, and we sort of set up this co-collaboration, and that seems to be working well, which is why we're able to then, in the last 3 years, able to escalate at least the compliance rate. And then it's also commendable to note that DPSA itself has enabled remote access to the e-disclosure system by SMS members. So they don't necessarily, if they're on the field and they want to then make sure they load everything onto their e-disclosure system, they don't have to be necessarily in their offices. They can be anywhere. They can log into the e-disclosure and they can comply with the compliance dates. So there's no excuse for those people who claim. When I first joined, they said we had a 99.8% because, unfortunately, one official was suspended and couldn't get onto the e-disclosure system. But now, if you're suspended, if you're sitting at home, you can still get onto the e-disclosure system and you can give your declaration. So they've tightened up the system there. I think we've emphasized in all our written communication and liaisons with head of departments and executing authorities that they must ensure that all SMS members disclose their interest by the due date annually, as is required with the law. And we would also like to see consequence management practices being seriously adopted, because we do make recommendations in our written letters to EAs and HODs to say, we've noted this is a deviation, this needs to be strengthened, and this is what we advise. We also do tell departments and EAs when we meet them regularly in our dashboard meetings that we offer training on integrity management and professional ethics, and we want them to really focus on this. And we also speak to the ethics officers about this. We speak about the code of conduct and public service, and of course the CVPs, which is why we were established as the PSC to push the CVPs throughout the public service. We also make presentations on labor relations, grievance management, fraud and corruption. However, we must stress that we don't feel the uptake is strong enough by departments. The team is available, it is free, but we'll find departments complaining that they have ethics and integrity issues, and when we offer them the training, they're not really, they're not taking the bite. And we do raise this when we meet with EAs and HODs regularly. We say, call us. We will be there to present and strengthen. However, now, in the previous office, there is now the Provincial Ethics Management Forum. We get in there. We are working closely with the team in the Office of the Premier, trying to push as much of the uptake on our training. We find that sometimes there seems to be a will to take up training with the NSG, because they want the sort of certification. Indeed, we also offer certification from the PSC. It won't have the same, obviously, the validation as that of the NSG training, but for some reason, even if we want to offer it informally, we don't seem to get that enough uptake. We've been trying to also get an appointment with the Provincial Public Service Academy to say, why don't we work together? I mean, the SIU said earlier, they are also offering training. And if the Provincial Public Service Academy does some kind of program where it, 4 times a year in 4 quarters of the year, schedules these, us as our oversight institutions to come and talk to public servants and offer our training in a well-organized program, we'll be able to make so much more impact. It's very difficult to actually reach the academy as well. We've been trying for a while with them there. Of course, there are areas that need to be strengthened, which we quite transparently outline to MECs and HODs, and we hope that they will take that up quite strongly. Just to say that this is our administrative support team. It's our DG, Advocate Dinke Dube at the top, our 3 DDGs there, Dr. Sedibe, Mr. Malatsi, and Irene Matendwa, and then we have our CFO and our senior managers who give us full support as commissioners, as resident commissioners. And then we've also now established our digital scanning, where if you want to report any issues, as you can use complaints at opsc.gov.za. If you want to lodge a grievance, it's the same thing. And if you want to report corruption, because the Public Service Commission handles the National Anti-Corruption Hotline, you may use 0800 701 701. And we are now amending all our business cards to include the scanner, so that when we hand it out to people and they then want to obviously use these facilities available by the PSC, they are able to use these facilities. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members.
Thank you. I just want to get some clarity on a couple of things before we go to questions. If we take you to slide 14 of the presentation.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes.
Okay, so my overall context here is that I think Scopa needs a lot more detail from PSC from this. And I understand that your briefing, and first, sorry, I always forget, we welcome the briefing. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate that. And I certainly do note that there's been an improvement in terms of disclosure, and it seems that there's quite a large reduction of the amount of money being made outside of the public service, which is obviously always welcomed, but I still find it very concerning. So if we go to 14, we have 106 SMS, so that's senior management service, right? 106 senior management service members who have interest in companies. Can we, number one, get a list of all those officials and what companies they're involved in? Because the fact that they've disclosed it doesn't mean that there's not something up. They haven't, as you say, they haven't contravened Regulation 19. All right. Then there were 7 that did not disclose, and we'd like that list too. All right. Because we are able then to go and see which companies that they're involved in are possibly involved in government work. And the one thing I notice as a quick stop here, you don't make mention of a list of officials that are known to be involved with doing business with the state. Maybe there are none, and then you could just advise us, but if there are, we obviously need that list, because I know there's a prohibition against that.
Yes.
All right. Okay, then I think Scope would really appreciate on slide 14, in the Department of Education, 1 senior management service member disclosed the company that makes 2.8 million rand a year in the previous financial year. I think we would really appreciate context on that. The name of the official, the name of the company, and where did they make 2.8 million rand? What was the source of that income? I think that's the vital thing. Then if we go to slide 17 and 18. So 17 is business made by these SMS members that have got businesses. I think once again we'd like to know the source of that income. So, yeah, I think if we could, you obviously must have that information at hand, and so we'd just like to know that. You know, if it turns out it's some minor thing like they're running a spaza shop from home, that's fine. But obviously we are looking for the obvious connection, that there's some sort of doing business with the state. Then finance, slide 18, we've got the gifts situation. Now, obviously, the gifts of 265 Rand are not of consequence, but 180, Now, you at the top of your slide, you say SMS members who receive gifts and sponsorships from sources other than family members. Now, there was mention that one of the members was receiving money from an inheritance. Surely that falls under family member, or is that regarded as a juristic person, so therefore it's not a family member? That could just be a nicety in terms of legal personality. But then obviously the 360,000 rand gift under social development, if we could just get some full context on that, please. Unless, of course, you know the information now and you can give it to us. But I think even if you can give us some context now, a formal list would be greatly appreciated. Then finally, just go down to slide 24. Right, we've got 74 disciplinary cases relating to financial misconduct. We were given by SIU a very detailed list of each instance, if we could possibly get a list like that, so of official, their position, the amount involved, what the case pertained to, and where it is now. You say that the departments have not recovered any monies, which is concerning because it's 556 million rand, over R500 million. That's a lot of money. And very concerningly, you say that no disciplinary action has been taken. Now, I don't know how quickly this, in particular this list, I don't know how quickly you can get this to us. But if I could ask you to prioritize, if there are education cases, we have education with us on Friday. And I would love to have a conversation with them about, of those 74, how many are theirs, and that there's no, according to yourselves, no consequence management. But I also believe that you've given us the undertaking that you will attend our hearings. So, well, a senior member, hopefully. Okay, that can give us the input that we require on this. You know, because literally we like to have all the, you know, as you said, the organizations supporting democracy around, so when an HOD or some official thinks they can try and get clever with Scopa, we can say, oh, hang on, and close it down immediately. All right, so those are just my inquiries now. So if you could just hold on to those. Let me now just go to any questions, and then we will, if you can just come back to on those queries. Thank you, Commissioner Baccus. Okay, members in the chamber, are there any questions for the PSC at this stage? Honourable Matlopa.
Honourable Chair, thank you. I think you have raised some of the questions that one was thinking, you know, this thing of no consequence management. I think you have raised that one because we wanted to check and also to know those officials that are part, that have got an interest in the business. I think, Chair, you have raised this because it's important for us to know who are those, you know, so that we can understand who are we dealing with in these particular matters, because, you know, as we are speaking, there is also a commission, you know. That's why even before I asked about the one that was not prosecuted, because we don't know what is happening. We really want to know exactly what is happening. I think, Honourable Chair, you have covered me on those particular questions, because I was also asking on the challenges, where is this thing? On the challenges that the Commission was indicating, to say that there is a problem of the officials that did not disclose. But we are saying here, we have received 100%, you know, disclosures. Maybe if we can get an understanding in regard to that, because it is 24, 25 that those disclosures were not done. I think it's six of them, if I'm not mistaken, that they did not disclose. But the report is saying we have 100%. Chair, I will request that I want to appreciate, Chair, that you have invited PSC to us, because I think they are part of us. This is the report that we are supposed to be getting for working with them. They work with all the departments, the proper, that we invite them to work with us and then understand what is happening, because it will empower us as they move, identifying those people so that we ask the question. So it will be my plea, Honorable Chair, that if the committee approves that, we request that we work with them very closely, because I'm saying this, Chair, because I was the chairperson in the Premier's office. You know, they were helping, you know, I used to invite them, as we are doing, taking from the Scopa, Chair. Invite them. They were assisting us with a lot of, you know, information, so that when we go there in the committee, we understand, we probe it. We even probe some of the challenges that were there regarding the fraud and so on. That's why the CFO was, you know, suspended. I don't know whether they have finalized that matter, because we wanted like specifics to say, give us 1, 2, 3, so that when we play our oversight as the chair was and the committee, we were very clear. I think the work that they are doing, we must applaud them with the good work that they are continuing to do, but they must be our close partners, because even when we go to the SIU, we will be getting some of the information and follow it up, whether it does go to the SIU and those people are prosecuted. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Matlopa. Are there any questions from the platform?
Because we are meeting with the Department of Education, if they can assist us for us to give that information, so specifically, so that when we meet with them, we know which department. That's why I supported what you said, Chair, to say we need to know who are those people that have got interest, who are those that are involved in business with the state, so that when we are there, we will understand whether the departments that will be meeting are part of those that are there, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Matlopa. Honourable Mbata, I see your hand is up.
Thank you so much. Am I audible, Chair?
You are indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the AGSA for an amazing presentation. I really appreciate. I'll have just a few questions, Chair. Some of the things we'll do then when we deal with departments and stuff. First question is, how does the AGSA plan to strengthen accountability mechanism?
Sorry, Honourable Mbata, if I can just correct you, the presentation was just from the PSC, the Public Service Commission.
Guys, I've been watching. Okay, I'm sorry, Chairperson.
AGSA is
oh
coming.
My goodness.
No problem, Honourable Mbata. Please continue.
Okay, no, it's fine. Continue, Chairperson. I'll come back with the PSA questions. I have to sort them out. They can answer whatever that has been asked.
Okay, so you will right. Thank you, Honourable Mbata. Okay, Commissioner Buckers, if you'd like to just give, I don't expect, if you have any specific info, that's great, but if you don't, the list will be fine. Up to you. I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members. Honourable Chairperson, on the first point you raised of getting a list of the SMS members with their companies, yes, we have it. We are able to give it. It's all, because whenever we get that, every declaration is validated by us. We go through this intense process and that's how we pick up the discrepancies where somebody has declared or not declared. List of those who did not disclose, yes, we will give you that as well. And it also goes to the departments because we write to every MEC and HOD about it. List of officials who are doing business with the state, none. We have checked, none of them are doing business with the state. We can say that because we've gone through all the disclosures and we've gone onto the system and loaded their IDs, etc. And then it did not come back as anybody as yet. So at least that's a positive in terms of good governance from our province. The context on the DOE official, we are really worried, Chairperson. We are so worried that from what Mrs. Mjali says, we discussed it as the PSC. We're worried about this DOE official who is a district SMS member, but who is gaining an income of the previous financial year of 4 point whatever, and now this financial 2 million and above. Why would you just, if you're making that kind of money, why would you want to still remain in the public service? You know, and we're not eliciting the responses from the department 2 years in a row. We're concerned, Chairperson. I've also discussed it at a national level with my fellow commissioners. Well, if we don't get the response from DOE, unfortunately, we do have the powers as the PSC to issue a summons and to summon the department. And I've tried to avoid this kind of hard attitude unless I really need to. We did get a call a few days ago, on Friday, to say that we are coming with a response, because we obviously followed up and said we're really at the end now. And we got a call from the MEC's office of DOE to say that we will be sending you something formal. But this is also not different from previous years where we get the call assuring us, but we actually don't get a response in writing. So we this close to issuing summons. And we are discussing it right now in terms of giving that few days leverage as they requested. But we are concerned about this individual being in the service and making that kind of remuneration outside the service. In terms of slides 17 and 18, it's actually, it's not business with the state, it's remunerative work outside the public service. It's called RWOPS. RWOPS is a source of income, but if you want to, as an example, a lot of public servants lecture at institutions or whatever, but when you're getting that extra income from another source, you are required to apply to your executing authority, declare what is it you want to work for, what is the contribution, what is the nature of the work, and then get authority to conduct that work. But it cannot be done on your work hours. So in other words, you can do part-time lecturing at night, which is outside your work hours, and you can get authority from your executing authority. You may be an expert in a particular field. You may want to lecture. You may want to make contributions at other agencies or something, but it cannot be done within the hours that you are a public servant. And it's not unusual that public servants do get that authority. So we do get them declaring their RWOPs. They attach their letters where they have been approved by the executing authority, and sometimes they forget to attach. And where they don't attach, we have to remind them, and we declare that they are not compliant. In terms of the family member, yes, shame. This is such. I think this is from Treasury. Yes, it's an official from Treasury. The person does not need to declare the money they are getting. I think it's 180,000, 108,000 per year from the late husband's estate. But I think this is one such official who's so honest. They see it as a gift, and we've written to the department to say it does not really fall under the category of gifts, but in their transparency, that person does put it in their form. But it's a late husband's estate, and they get the same amount every year from the late husband's estate. And then in terms of slide 24 on the disciplinary cases, yes, there are 74 cases. We are also very...
on that same gifts thing, there was the one from social room, 360,000?
Yes.
Do you know about that? Or?
Yes, we do. Just ask Yoli to explain that one, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Let me help you with the mic. Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. The one from social development for 360,000, It's one director that disclosed that he has received a scholarship from the entity that is affiliated to the department, not from social development as a department, but he received a scholarship from the entity of the department. Hence, he had to disclose it. He has been disclosing it for the past 3 years now. And it's been approved by the HOD as well as the MEC. Thank you.
So he's actually getting that extra support, that scholarship, but also declares it outright. So it's not really a gift as such, but I don't know whether that individual, it's a sponsorship. Yeah. So it's because it's that bursary or that scholarship is sponsored, that individual declares it. All right. Then, Chairperson, on the disciplinary cases, the 74 cases, we are really worried because on the one hand, we don't see any consequence management. On the other hand, we are not even seeing recoveries. We have also raised this with Treasury because we have an MOU with Treasury, and the HOD and myself from time to time, together with our technical teams, we meet to discuss these things. And the HOD then also in her various forums also raises with the departments, in the cohort, etc., that we need to tighten up on these things because, really a financial misconduct to that value, we're not feeling that there's any will by departments to really deal with this. As the PSC, we are very concerned about it, and we've raised it year on year. And we want departments to show us that they are serious about it. And I don't get a sense that there's any urgency in dealing with that. And we hope that Scopa can assist us in that respect. But we do write up to departments. We ask for responses. They will give us very, how must I say, platonic responses on this. And we're not satisfied with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just on that. So yes. I'm going to ask Cabo to send you our schedule for the remainder of this month.
Yes.
It's over the next 3 weeks. You will see then the sense of urgency. So for us to really make an impact, if we could have the disciplinary matters that are related, for instance, this Friday is education.
Yes.
Before then we can really take them on that particular issue on Friday. But understand, I don't want to dump you with a huge amount of work. But for instance, if you could give us that by Friday, then by the next Tuesday, you'll see the next one. So at least we're equipped. And then I'm sure you'll catch up and give us the whole list. But, if we can just have education, then we can say, listen, but as I say, I need detail. So who the official is, what they've done, then we can actually say, listen, what's happening with this matter?
The Chairperson, Yolisa said she will definitely supply you that in advance of your hearing. We do need that list so that we can start to give you that, but we will try to get you the one on education before your meeting on Friday. Yeah, we'll work on that immediately.
Obviously, it's only relevant to the departments we're calling.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Chairperson, we will do that. Then in response to Honourable Madlopa, on the consequence management, Chairperson, a while ago, some years ago, we were invited to a meeting where it was called, I think, Chair, and there was a presentation by OTP on the consequence management framework for KwaZulu-Natal, led by the Office of the Premier. And we looked at the draft framework on consequence management for the province. As the PSC, we gave input into this as well. And then we're told at some stage that it's finalized. We don't have a copy. We've asked for a copy. But we are worried that this is now another dusty book that has gathered to a tick box that we have such a policy or a framework. But we are not putting it into action. We're not giving life to this document and using it in departments. We'd really like for Scopa to perhaps follow up on this as well. Where is the consequence management framework? How is it being applied? And show us the impact. Yes, I think that there should be a consequence management policy in every department. Certainly DPSA advocates for that. National DPSA advocates for a consequence management policy to be adopted by departments. In fact, I think they even sent out some time ago a draft, a pro forma or something like that that departments can use. But I'm not seeing the will for us to drive this in the province on the areas that we are indicating of analysis from the PSC. So, Honorable Madlopa, I hope we can follow up on that one in particular, because it's going to be very, and we hear the President, we hear other departments, hear ministers speak about consequence management, we hear, external agencies and monitors of anti-corruption speak about this, commissions that are being established, and have Zondo Commission also raised that, the weaknesses in consequence management, and I don't know how seriously we are taking it. In terms of, as I said, yes, there's a difference, Honourable Member, in terms of compliance and disclosures. So what we gave was 100% compliance. They all submitted. Previous years, 1 or 2 escaped and they didn't submit by the due date. So in other words, they never declared anything. They didn't even give us a form. But for the last 3 years, all SMS members have complied and disclosed. They may not have disclosed entirely, and that's where we do the validation and we catch them out, and then we write to departments and see what the departments are doing about it and making recommendations. And we really appreciate your kind words, Honourable Madlopa. It was a pleasure to work with you as the chair of the Office of the Premier at that time, and we continue to support whichever committee requires us. We have an investigation also which we've just concluded, which was forwarded to us by the chair of the Social Development Portfolio Committee, and we've submitted the report there as well. So we are really an extension of the arm of the legislature, and we are at your disposal whenever you do require. I'll hand over also to Mrs. Mshali if you want to add anything further.
We've covered everything.
You okay? Comfortable?
Yeah, I'm comfortable. The report.
Just your mic, please, Yole. Thank you.
Technology is challenging us. Now, thank you, Commissioner. Chairperson, I promise the issue with education, I will be on it as soon as I get back to the office, and your office will get it as soon as possible before your meeting. And all the other issues that have been raised, the list of SMS members, that you'll also get, definitely, because I do have that in my files. Thank you. And maybe just a bit of clarity on financial misconduct for non-recovery. You'll also get a response from PSC as to why the non-recovery of such a huge amount. We'll detail that as to which department has not recovered, and which department has indicated that there is no recoveries to be made. Thank you.
Maybe as a last point, Chairperson, to say that whilst we have summarized, as you said initially in the PowerPoint presentation, our full report by law will be tabled to the Legislature, to the Office of the Speaker shortly. Thanks. Thank you, Chairperson.
All right. Honourable Madlopa.
No, thanks, Honourable Chair. We appreciate the responses. We know the activism that the Commission is engaged in regard to the issue of accountability and so on. I think we will support them to really move on that one, Chair. Chair, I wanted, but I think she has covered me to say she will give us the information, because those members that failed to disclose were 7% of SMS members. Did not disclose. That's what the report is saying. And also the issue of 74 disciplinary cases relating to financial misconduct, Chair, during 2024-25. They have indicated the categories of those people. But maybe if we can get an understanding, because Honourable Chair, they indicated the issue of the fraud, the issue of the theft, the issue of the misappropriation and abuse of state resources. Maybe when they give us that report for different departments that we are going to see this week, maybe they can categorize to say, these are the people. I don't know whether they are allowed to give names, breakdown of those people, because they are saying there are 74 disciplinary cases. Maybe when they list it to say this member was involved in a theft or misappropriation of what, just that breakdown that will assist us to really engage with the department, because it's different categories. The others, it's like, yeah, it's a abuse of state resources and fraud, theft, all those things, to categorize them that way, and the amount involved, because it is indicated in the report that the total amount it's 556.77 million that is involved in that misappropriation of funds. So if we can really get that breakdown for each and every one of these 74 members and the category of the fraud they are engaged in. Yeah, also I think they have the commissioner has responded to the issue of the consequence management, the failure of consequence management. Also because, you know, the Honorable Chair, if we can, those that have failed, get a list of them to say these are the people that have failed, because this thing involves our core mandate to deal with the issue of these irregular expenditures and so on, because the report is saying that it was reported that there is departments reported on irregular expenditure, but there are no consequence management on those particular things. So in the report that they will furnish to us, maybe if they can try and give us those the information that will really assist us to engage with the department, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Lopa. That is exactly that kind of granular detail we need. As you know from our past experience, when you don't have that exact detail, you can't pin the department. Because then you say, well, sorry, who are you talking about? And say, I'm talking about this guy. You know, and frankly, in these hearings, unless I'm advised otherwise, I have no problem in naming people. That's for sure. All right. Colleagues, members, I think we are done with that presentation, and I'm mindful that we've been here for quite a bit. AGSA and PARC are waiting outside, but we can take a short comfort break. So I would like to say that we're going to reconvene promptly at 12:30, which gives us 16 minutes to grab a tea or go to the loo or whatever is required. Okay. PSC, thank you so much once again, and thank you for being willing to walk the path with us. I hope we haven't pulled you into something that you're going to regret, but your input is absolutely valuable to our work, as Honourable Matlopa was saying. All right, members, so for those on the platform, please stay connected. We will continue at 12:30, and for the rest of us here, let's go and stretch our legs. Thank you very much.
AGE, IEC, the SIU, the PP, and ourselves work together in the province, and that we don't
Okay, honourable members, colleagues from AGSA, we are now going to reconvene our meeting. I'm sure other members will join as they get the chance. Where we are in our agenda right now is now the briefing by AGSA on sports, arts and culture first, and then on public works second. So, is it Mrs. or Ms. Mkhize? Eh? Mrs. Mkhize. Would you please introduce your team to us, as you always do, and then let's get stuck in. You are wonderful. You have the presentation. So for members on the platform, that's all there for you. All right, let's go for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and a very good afternoon to yourself. Good afternoon to the honourable members of the committee. I am Nomalungelo Mkhize, the business unit leader in the KZN office of the Auditor General. I am joined today by Mr. Kabiso Madlala to my left, and next I've got to Mr. Sanele Mkhwanazi, who is a senior manager. So Mr. Madlala is a deputy business unit leader, and I have got Ms. Nombulelo Ngome, and then I've got to Mr. Mondli Moloi, and this is the team that will be doing the presentation on the outcomes of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. It will be led by the Deputy Business Unit Leader and the Senior Manager. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, please proceed with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to your Honourable Self, Chair, and greetings to the colleagues on the online platform as well. It's Kabiso Madlala. I will take just a few slides and then share with Mr. Mkhwanazi, Chair. Chairperson, on the slide number 2, I'm not sure whether they are okay. On slide number 2, Chairperson, this is where we just remind our stakeholders of our mission as AGSA, where we indicating that we exist to strengthen our country's democracy, thereby enabling oversight, accountability, and governance in the public sector through auditing, thereby building a public confidence. Our vision is to be recognized by all our stakeholders as a relevant supreme audit institution that enhances the public sector accountability. We do that, Chairperson, by focusing on the 3 items of our strategy, where we're saying that we're going to be more influential. We are going to provide more practical insight in terms of assisting our clients to move over the continuum. And if that do fail, we will then ensure that we do enforce through our teeth that we were given. On slide number 3, Honourable Chair, this is where we're just indicating that as Auditor General, as much as we can have all the insights that we can garner from what we do, but we do require other role players to come and assist us. And we believe that if we all come together and just do what we are mandated to do, that mandate can come from legislation or can come from a moral of those supporting structures. We're saying that let's all come together and ensure that we all play our roles in terms of the accountability ecosystem. Honourable Chair, we on the previous audit for the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, we had some recommendations that we had shared with them previously in the 2023-24 financial year. We made 3 recommendations to them that they needed to strengthen the quality of their reviews of our disclosures, and they needed to improve the coordination between the various departments within the various units within the department in order to ensure that timely updates to fixed asset registers and other internal control issues are enhanced. Also, the third one was that to enhance internal controls to ensure all expenditure is properly authorized. Then still on slide 4, we're just reflecting on what we found when we came back. We found that some of them are still in progress, and there were others that were not implemented. On that box on the right, Chairperson, we just highlighting the issues that we did find. We feel that there's no agency in addressing the audit action plans that we have recommended to the department. The reason we say that is that you will see as we go through the presentation, we are still finding a number of recurring findings on the audit. However, we did see a slight improvement for the Department of Arts and Culture. There were no issues in terms of their financial statements, meaning how they record the debits and credits. They were able to get that right. There were no material adjustments. And on the performance information, there were some improvements as well, which my colleague will go through in terms of the detail. The part that they are struggling with when it comes to the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture is the compliance areas. As much there are incremental improvements that we have noted, however, we are still concerned. One of the things are consequence management, whereby we find that the recommendations that they are doing when it comes to investigations are not at the level that we are looking for as the audit. Chairperson, allow me to hand over to Mr. Mkwanazi to take us through the overall audit outcomes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Okay, so on the overall audit outcomes, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture received an unqualified with findings on non-compliance audit outcome. As Mr. Madlana has noted, on the financial statements, it's unqualified with no findings, which is basically noting that in the current year, similar to previous year, the financial statements on which we signed our audit report contained no material misstatements. And going further down on predetermined objectives, you would note that, again, that slide is green, where we are noting that there were no material findings on predetermined objectives, but we've also noted there wasn't a non-compliance raised on the annual financial statements. On expenditure management, there is non-compliances raised, the first being on 30 days, and I think the second being on prevention of irregular expenditure. And then the third non-compliance, prevention of irregular expenditure. And then the third non-compliance, area is asset management. And then again, this is a repeat compared to previous years. We've had this area as non-compliance raised. And then coming, which is new in the current year, becomes the utilization of grants, which is a non-compliance raised in the current year auditor's report. With strategic planning, Chairperson, you'd note again it's green in the current year, which is what we were touching on initially in the slides to say there's been an improvement in the current year compared to previous year. There was no non-compliance when it comes to performance information. Then procurement and contract management is red, similar to previous year because we did have non-compliances identified in that area. And the last one being also then transfer of funds. We did not identify any issues. And then with consequence management in the current year, we did identify material non-compliance. Moving on to the next slide. On this slide, we're just summarizing the financial statements where we are noting the key observations that in the past 3 years, the KZN Department of Sports, Arts and Culture has consistently achieved unqualified audit opinions, reflecting reliable financial reporting. There has also been a notable improvement in the quality of performance information with no material misstatements identified in the current year. We do note that compliance with laws and regulations remains an area where further effort needs to be focused, Chairperson. This includes repeat non-compliances in procurement and contract management, weak controls over expenditure management and asset management, and delays in updating your asset register and as well as poor consequence management. In terms of the misstatements corrected, in the current year we only had one, but again, as I noted initially, it did not meet the criteria for it to be classified as a material non-compliance. So, however, we're still highlighting it, at least for the department, to say for us to get to a point of clean administration, we need to get to a point where there are no such misstatements identified during the audit. Then moving on to the next slide, Chairperson. This one is speaking to performance planning and reporting for service delivery. Here we are noting the quality of performance information. I think similar to the slide before where we noted that basically there were no findings identified on our audit of predetermined objectives, and the program that was focused on was program 2. The key observation, we've just noted that the department has shown commendable improvement in the quality of performance information. In the most recent audit, no material misstatements were identified, indicating that performance reporting processes are becoming more effective and aligned with SMART principles. Moving on to the next slide. The next slide then summarizes the achievement of key performance targets, where we are basically summarizing the information, where we are noting that for program 2, the budget spent was 100%. However, the percentage of achieved targets was less than that. However, we are noting that, Chairperson, this is not, maybe for us to provide clarity at this point, is that this is not to say, for example, that 33% for example, the monies that were spent on these particular programs were not spent on them, but it's to say, when it comes to performance information, if you had 9 targets and you achieved 6, for example, the 3, they might be at 90% of achievement in that particular program, not 100%, therefore reported as a non-achievement. So the percentage is speaking to overall, to say, of what they had, not all of them were achieved. And then we're noting the root cause of targets not being achieved, where the underachievement we're noting was due to the following factors. The first being that the underachievement of performance targets, despite full budget spending, is mainly due to poor planning, weak implementation, and inadequate performance monitoring. And we note targets were not aligned with capacity or spending, and operational inefficiencies limited service delivery. This highlights the need for better linkages between budgets and outcomes, improved oversight, and stronger accountability. Impact assessment, where targets not being achieved, we noting that the non-achievement of planned targets possibly negatively impacts on service delivery, undermining the department's mandate to support cultural and creative sectors. Moving on to the next slide, Chairperson. I think this provides a snapshot similar to the colors we covered above on the material non-compliances, where we're noting that for expenditure management, where the crosses are red, those would be repeat findings, where we've got repeat findings on expenditure management, we've got repeat findings on procurement and contract management, we have repeat findings on asset management. And then we have a new finding coming through on effective consequence management, as well as grant management, Chairperson and members. Moving on to the next slide, where we note just details of the 2025 findings, where it's basically weaknesses in procurement and contract management. The details on these, again, support the material non-compliance raised on procurement and contract management, where we're saying we identified instances of non-compliance in competitive bidding processes, as well as quotation processes, as well as construction contracts, as well as the preferential procurement, as well as contract management, Chairperson. The next slide, Chairperson, then speaks to the continued lack of accountability and consequences, where it provides a snapshot of our irregular expenditure, unauthorized expenditure, as well as fruitless and wasteful expenditure. We note that irregular expenditure in the current year was noted at 139,090,000. The nature of the current year irregular expenditure would have been covered in the previous slide, but the snapshot shows that it's mainly SCM non-compliance, which also links with your CIDB grading. Then the overall closing balance on the irregular expenditure sits at 992,753,000. We note how leadership dealt with the irregular expenditure. We're noting that no money has been recovered or in the process of recovery. There's 107.8 million that is currently under assessment and investigation, and then there's the 139 million current year. The 139 is a slight reduction from previous year. We were sitting at 179 million incurred during the year. And then on unauthorized expenditure, it's 0 for the department, which is commendable, as well as on the annual, on fruitless and wasteful expenditure, Chairperson, for the 2024-2025 financial year, fruitless and wasteful as well was not incurred by the department. However, there is still a closing balance of 1.7 million as a result of previous year interests and penalties. Again, in terms of how leadership has dealt with it, the money there's no money that's been recovered. It's not under assessment. None of it has been condoned, as well as there's no current year fruitless and wasteful expenditure. We note for the reasons of fruitless and wasteful expenditure not being dealt with, being that the department has requested advice and or an opinion from Provincial Treasury on how to deal with the fruitless and wasteful expenditure going forward. Moving on to the next slide, which speaks to the reflections on financial sustainability of the auditee. This slide covers going concern, where for going concern, we did not identify any events or conditions that cast significant doubt on the department's ability to continue as a going concern. And then with concerning financial indicator, here we are noting that our audit included a high-level review of the department's financial position and key financial ratios to assess its financial health and going concern status. What we noted is that the department shows an accrual-adjusted current liability position, suggesting potential difficulty in meeting short-term obligations as they become due and highlighting the need for corrective financial measures. Then when it comes to budget management as well as losses, we do not identify any findings to highlight in this area of financial management, Chairperson. Then below comes government grants, where we are just noting that the total grants received by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for the financial year 2024-25 was 305,710,000 and consisted of 4 types of grants, which is the Community Library Services Grant, Expanded Public Works Program, the Mass Participation and Sport Development Grant, as well as the EPWP Social Sector Grant for provinces. As we move on to the next slide, Chairperson, you would note that with the grants, I think this links to the initial non-compliance that was raised for the Community Library Services Grant. We are just noting that the department transferred the grant funds to municipalities in line with an internal payment schedule without notifying National Treasury, and that was a non-compliance in terms of the applicable legislation. On the other 3 grants, there was no non-compliances identified. Then, as we move on to material irregularities, Chairperson, with the material irregularity, the first slide covers the definition, which I'll just try to cover at a high level, Chairperson, where we note that the MI definition speaks to any non-compliance with or contravention of legislation, fraud, theft, or breach of fiduciary duty identified during an audit performed under the Public Audit Act that resulted in or is likely to result in in a material financial loss, the misuse or loss of a material public resource, or substantial harm to a public sector institution or the general public. That becomes the MI definition. But moving on to the next slide, Chairperson, we are noting that for the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, since the implementation of the MI process by the AGSA, we've identified 3 material irregularities. But equally so, I think a positive in this regard is that all 3, as it stands, have been resolved. I think we included this particular slide, Chairperson, because in the previous year, I think we did not get an opportunity to present to yourselves, just to say that these matters which were there previously have now been resolved and were resolved in the previous year and not even in the current one, but we included that information here. Then the next slide just provides an overview of the 3 MIs at a high level, which one spoke to the payment for infrastructure projects on Itugutugu Library, the second spoke to penalties not charged for the same Itugutugu Library project, and the third one became unused buses which were procured by the department and to be converted into mobile libraries, but were not done so timeously. So those would be the 3 MIs, and all of them, again, Chairperson, have been resolved. Then moving on to the next slide. The next slide covers our overall message, Chairperson. I think we start off by highlighting the commitments that we received in the previous year when we did engage the MEC on the audit outcomes. So the MEC committed to the following actions, the first being to consistently engaging with AGSA and implementing its recommendations to improve audit outcomes. Emphasizing accountability, stating that the HOD and department staff are expected to follow through on the implementation of AGSA recommendations, which we welcomed. And then the status update on those, we're noting that based on the audit outcomes across the 3 audit areas, the commitments have not been fully achieved with respects to the annual financial statement and compliance with laws and regulations, as misstatements and non-compliance findings continue to be raised. I think with this one, you'd know, Chairperson, that even when it comes to our recommendations, we still make reference to financial statements. The reason we do that, as I highlighted previously, is that as much as we do not identify any material financial, there are no material adjustments made to the financial statements, but we are aiming at getting to a point where the department has no misstatements, because misstatements which are immaterial in the current year could become material in years to come. So we keep referring to financial statements as well as non-compliance. And we're noting that a notable progress was made in the area of reported performance information with improved audit outcomes resulting from the implementation of recommendations. Then on the next slide, which is our call to action, here we note 3 recommendations, Chairperson, that we believe that if attended to or that if prioritized by the department should see an improvement in overall audit outcome in the year to come. The first being where we are recommending the HOD to enhance the department's internal control environment by doing 2 things. The first is ensuring the consistent implementation of effective daily and monthly financial processing and reconciliation procedures. And the second is that ensuring the implementation of a thorough review process of our AFS preparation and submission for audit. This process should focus on verifying the accuracy of reported financial data and identifying any errors. And this is this particular recommendation speaks directly to the AFS as well as getting to a point of not having any misstatements as we move forward. And then the next one speaks to predetermined objectives, where we're noting that the HOD is to build on the progress made in Program 2. I think we've noted in our presentation, Chairperson, that a commendable improvement has been made on performance information, and we are highlighting that from a recommendation standpoint that the HOD should ensure that all performance indicators across programs, I think as we noted initially, we only audited 1 program versus 3 in the current year, where we're saying that the HOD should ensure that the performance indicators across the programs are well-defined, measurable, and aligned with SMART principles. We're also noting that continuing to embed consistent internal review mechanisms to verify reported performance information and ensuring the extension of oversight and refinement efforts to all programs. Then the third recommendation, Chairperson, we are noting that the HOD is to address continued non-compliance by firstly enhancing and implementing effective preventative controls, including reviews in procurement, expenditure, and asset management. We're noting that by training of supply chain management staff on updated legislative frameworks to ensure the effective enhancement and implementation of the preventative controls. And then thirdly is enforcing firm consequence management for instances of transgressions or non-compliance identified. So that would be the third recommendation, Chairperson. Maybe at a high level, I think with recommendation 1, as we noted, the department has made an improvement on their AFS in that in the current year there is no material non-compliance with financial statements, but we still have a recommendation to ensure that as the shift occurs, the shift becomes sustainable when it comes to financial statements. The same applies to recommendation 2 as well, speaking to performance information, to say the progress that's been made needs to also be ensured that it's consistently applied, and then for lack of a better term, stands the test of time in terms of the follow-up audits as well. And then the third one is the key one then, that's speaking to the non-compliance areas that have been identified in the current year, Chairperson. That then brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mkhize, any closing comments?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honourable Chair. Indeed, this is the outcomes for the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. As you noted, we are noting the improvements, but we are saying that these improvements do need to be sustainable. There are areas of concern, particularly on compliance, and you will note that even in our color coding, there were repeat findings in the area of non-compliance that still need to be dealt with, which means that even the improvements have not become sustainable because you are still also getting those repeat findings around the areas of non-compliance. And of course, we have shared the outcomes quite extensively with department officials, including also the Honourable MEC as well. Thank you so much, Chair.
All right, thank you. Members, it's over to you if there are any questions. We'll start with the members in the chamber if there are any questions. Honourable Magabadi.
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Scopa. Greetings to the AG and to the honourable members on my side. I just want to check, AG. Unfortunately, I'm not privy with the APP of sports, arts and culture. I was just going to compare, because it's easy when you're looking at the APP and then you compare it to the findings of the AG, then it can give you a true reflection on what is happening. But I just want to check on the programs that has been achieved versus the budget that has been spent. I understand when AG was explaining that some of the programs might happen that they are not yet been finished or completed, so they cannot be reflected as achieved a target as they are not complete. But do you have at this moment, that's why I was saying if I had the APP with me of sports, then I was going to be able to compare myself as to what's going on. Do you have roughly the projects that were for the quarter currently, and then which ones were completed, which ones were not completed, and what stage are they on? Because we need to look at that, the budget being spent 100%, and then it was spent on what projects? And then which ones are the ones still remaining? And what stage are they on, so that we'll get a clear picture on what to check with the department when we get to them, to get the reasons from the department, because we need that picture as to, according to their APP versus the budget being spent, what is going on. And then when you further go to slide 11, the procurement and contract management that has got non-compliance. We know what is that. We are in politics. We know what causes this. It's political directives most of the time. Who to get what on what event, on what project. It causes non-compliance. So do you have any specifics as to the compliance normally, as you have when you were checking, the non-compliance or the irregularities that are happening when it comes to procurements and the SCM processes, they normally come in during what programs or what projects? We need a picture there, because it normally happens when there is a directive as to, like when you go to slide 12, it says there was no competitive bidding process on an amount of about 27 million. And the quotation process on the amount of about 51 million. We know those things happens when there are events. It's possible to happen when there are projects that comes in during that quarter or that period. Then there are directives to say this project must be given to who. That's why that's why you will find these results of the non-competitive bidding. That's where it takes place. So give us a picture as to on which projects exactly this behavior is happening, so that we can know. Because when you go to slide 12, look at the annual irregular expenditure. Don't go to previous year, 2024, 2023, 2024. Go to 2022, 2023. The current irregular expenditure, the stage that it's on now, it has already passed the rate of the irregular expenditure of the full year of 2022, 2023. They've already exceeded the amount that was irregular on 2 financial years back. They've already on 80% of the amount that was irregular of the previous year, but already we are on the middle of the financial year. So what this tells you, that by the end of the financial year, there will be double the amount of previous year, the irregular expenditure. Because when you compare 179 that was previous year, and already we're sitting on 139, and the financial year is in the middle of the financial year, it gives you a picture. It gives you a picture of what is going to be the reflection of next year, of next financial year. We're going to be talking about 2024, 2025, that was double the expenditure of the previous years. So that's why I'm saying, if you're giving us a picture, then you're assisting us so that we can have specific questions to the department as to what do we need to look on, because we'll have time then now to go and look at the APP versus this report and be able to have questions. But you, the ones who's going to give us the ammunition as to what specific questions to deal with when we with the department. I think that can assist us. I've got a question on the issue of buses that were procured to be the mobile libraries. I saw one bus in an event that was in Mango's. It was the first time seeing that kind of a bus. I was just asking myself, who came with this project of the mobile library? So how many were they bought? Maybe if you can give us a picture. Do you know where they're standing? Where are they at this moment if they are not utilizing them? Where is the department keeping those buses? Do they have the systems inside? What do they have, or what stops them from being operational? Because so that we can have the specific questions.
Or shall we allow the AGSA to respond to the first line of inquiry? Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and thank you, Honourable Magavane, for the questions. I think before I allow the team to assist in some of the questions, on I think the last question around the irregular expenditure, just before the team answers at 12. So what we are presenting at 12. So what we are presenting today, the period that we are looking at, to then just ask the team to cover the other questions on the budget spent versus the programs. And Honourable Chair, if I may just also indicate that should the team not have the full information, as we've always done.
Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Magavane, for the questions. Yeah, I think BUL has assisted us in some of the questions. I just wanted to touch on your and it would be better that if we can continue, Honourable Chair, what we've been doing, what we've been doing last year, whereby the departments brings a full list of their irregular expenditure indicating per project. I think that will assist as we do audit on a sample basis. However, if you do not get joy, Honorable Makubane and Honorable Chair, on that, I'm sure we can find ways to create that list for the honorable members. I think
just to interrupt you there, and for the benefit of members, when we wrote to the departments ahead of coming to us, we've asked them for their full loss registers.
Yes,
give us a full
what we've been doing, like Honorable Makubane and Honorable Chair, on that. I'm sure we can find ways to create that list. For the honorable members.
Format that we got through, which is very nice from Public Works.
I think
every single disciplinary works. Every single disciplinary matter, consequence management matter, with like proper detail. Just to interrupt you there, and for the benefit of members, when we wrote to them, judge them by that. But yes, that will be coming. There's full registers and full, amongst a lot of things we've asked them for, and full lists departments ahead of coming to us. We've asked them for their full loss registers. Departments ahead of coming to us. We've asked them for their full loss registers. Judge, give us a full member about that. But yes, that will be coming. There's full registers and full, amongst a lot of things we've asked them for, and full lists departments ahead of coming to us. We've asked them for their full loss registers.
As far as immaterial irregularity is concerned, those buses are being utilized. As to where they are specifically, today we would not be able to advise at this point in time. But the buses have been confirmed. In terms of irregularities, that will be how we are resolving that MI is that there was one more question which as far as immaterial irregularities is concerned, those buses are being utilized. As to where they are specifically, today we would not be able to advise at this point in time. But the buses okay. Because in the current year we audited 2 activities. So under those we've listed the 3 that were not achieved. Namely, it's the number of cultural/creative sector practitioners capacitated, because they have that as an indicator. So the planned target was 740, but what was reported as achieved is 707. All right, and then the next one becomes the number of job opportunities created through marketing opportunities in the creative sector, where the target was 2,795 opportunities, but what was achieved was less, which is 1,558. And then the third one becomes the number of community conversations/dialogues implemented to foster social interactions per year. The target was 28, but what was achieved was 24. So it would be those 3. Thank you.
Is that response complete now? Great. Right, Honorable Mbata.
Thanks, Chairperson, and thanks for the clarity to the AGSA. Now, Chairperson.
Sorry, if I can just quickly point out that Honorable Mbata is a very top sportsman. He's a very, very strong sportsman. So consider your questions very carefully when you answer on anything to do with sport. He will know. I've seen him in action myself.
I take it as a compliment, Chairperson. Well, my first question is because I think I need to bring these other questions on board. What specific findings were raised against the department in 24-25? And why do they remain unresolved from the prior years? That's the first question. And on the same question, I will also add to this, that do these relate to supply chain management, performance reporting, or non-compliance? And then the last one, has the AGSA observed ethical and decisive leadership within the department, or a recurring tolerance of weaknesses? I think I'll ask those two questions. Other than that, when the other stuff that you're talking about, the sportmen, we'll deal with that some other time. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, AG, over to you.
Sorry. Thank you, Honourable Chair and Honourable Mbata. I will let the team just respond on the specific findings. I think for some of them,